welcome! I've recently made a little knitted cardigan to go on this wooden dolly that lives in the doll's house my grandchildren spend many hours playing with. And it worked so well, I felt I wanted to share it with anyone else that might like to knit some clothing for their doll's house dollies or perhaps their Barbie dolls. This would be a bit small for a Barbie, I think. You could increase the number of stitches you cast on to suit the size of doll you're making it for. So the wool I've been using on this particular cardigan, get me glasses so I can read it properly, is a Cinder Snuggly
Serdar, not Cinder.
Double knit. Now it's actually quite a fine wool. It's pretty thin. And I've been using a size 3 knitting needles. Now I know you can get a size 2 knitting needles that are even finer than these, but size 3 is the size I've been using. I had so much fun making this lovely little cardigan for the dolly. I've already knitted up all the pieces I need to make a second cardigan in a different colour. So I'll change the camera angle and show you more clearly the pieces we need and the stitch count to make it the right size to fit these little wooden dollies. Now I think this is an IKEA doll, or you certainly can buy them in IKEA. I have a whole family of little dolls, all of which I've acquired second hand. And they're all going to need nice warm woolly jumpers to keep them cosy over the winter. So I'm going to have a happy time knitting lots of them.
So I'm knitting with a Serdar Snuggly double knit, which is a nylon acrylic. And I'm knitting with size 3 needles. So I've started by making the back of her cardigan. Turn her over actually, there we go. I cast on 14 stitches and then did a ribbing for 2 rows with a knit purl, knit purl, knit purl, knit purl. And on the 3rd row, everything got purled. And on the 4th row, everything was knitted. And I carried on like that with 1 row of purl, 1 row of knit, 1 row of purl, 1 row of knit for a further 15 rows, which gave me a total of 17 rows knitted. And on the 18th row, I cast off, making sure that my cast off is on what's going to be the outside of the jumper cardigan rather than the inside. I'll move everything over. Next, it was time to knit these 2 front panels. This time I cast on just 8 stitches along the bottom. The first 2 rows in a rib with a knit purl, knit purl. Then for the next 9 rows, I've done the stocking stitch with 1 row of purl, 1 row of knit, 1 row of purl, 1 row of knit to make this little square panel here. Next, I want to start creating this reduction along just one edge. Now, depending on whether you're working on the left or the right side of the cardigan will affect how we tackle this reduction at the V-neck. Always do the reduction on the knit side of the cardigan. So here, I'll knit the first 2 stitches, cast off 1 and carry on knitting to the end of the row. The next row is going to be a purl row right to the end. The following knitting row is going to be knit 2, cast off 1 and knit to the end of the row. And I'm going to do that with each knitting row until I've got 4 stitches left on my needle at the top. On this side of the cardigan, because I start knitting my knit row on the side seam that's going to join the rest, that's going to join into the back, I'm going to knit to the last 2 stitches Then I knit my last 2 stitches together. Next row's a purl. Then again on the knit row, I knit to the last 2 stitches and knit my last 2 stitches together, which will give me the reduction on this side of the V, till we've got 4 stitches left on the needle. Once there's only 4 stitches left on your needle, do a further 2 rows before I start casting off on the knit. Doesn't matter which side of the cardigan I'm working on, I want to do those extra 2 rows of 4 stitches before I cast off. And that's our 2 front panels. Shove them out the way. You'll notice I've actually left quite long tails, and I've left these long tails on purpose so I'll have a bit more wool to be stitching as I stitch the pieces together. And lastly, we've got our little sleeve. For the sleeves, I've cast on 12 stitches and go straight into knit purl. Oops, all curly. You're going to hold it down. And gone straight into knit purl, knit purl, knit purl, a stocking stitch. On the knit side, after 10 rows, the 11th row I'm going to cast off. And this cast off row is actually the cuff of her little jumper. And of course we need a second little sleeve, which is very curly. And now to assemble. So I'll take our little sleeve, fold it right side to right side, and using these long tails that I've left, stitch up that seam to make a little tube. Just like a normal big person cardigan. We put these right side to right side. I'll stitch up a little bit at the bottom here and the shoulder seam here. Stitch the shoulder together there, but I haven't sealed up this side edge because in here is where the sleeve's going to go. So stitching all your pieces together, tying in your loose ends, and you'll have a lovely little cardigan ready for your tiny little person. Now, although the wool is being quite curly at the edges, once it's on her, it actually lays quite well. I haven't added any buttons or ribbons or closures or ties, but you can if you want to. Oh, where's her hands? Pull it up there and there. There we go. Yay! I've put my finished blue cardigan on my granddad dolly and made him a little hat. I've also made a hat to go with my purple cardigan dolly. They look lovely together.